Gardens Commission meeting of Wednesday, May 13th, 2020 to order. Confirmation of a quorum. Call to order. Can I have adoption of the public agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Moving, are there any petitions or delegations, Mr. Yates or Mr. Leach?
No.
And we will go to adoption of the previous minutes of April 15th, 2020.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody opposed? Minutes are adopted. No public considerations. Chair's report. I think most of it is already in the agenda, but I will tell you that during the SRD meeting, I did go out onto a call with Minister Trevena that she was having for, it was one of her weekly calls. I did make an inquiry as to if the province at the appropriate time would be rolling out stimulus packages for COVID recovery. And she indicated that yes, they were working on that along with Minister Robinson. And even though we were talking just transportation, she acknowledged the Recreate application as an example of a shovel-ready project. So we're on the radar. So that's my chair's report. Do we need that received, Mr. Yates? Or is that just verbal?
Motion to receive will be in order.
I'll move receive.
Second.
Discussion? Anybody opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on to staff reports, financial impacts of COVID-19 Strathcona Gardens Complex for receipt.
Move receipt.
Receipt.
Second.
Discussion?
I had some discussion. I'm wondering if we're not going to get the grants required to do the full Recreate project. If we can review the financial plan and reallocate the Recreate funds so that we can reduce costs in other areas for our taxpayers, or redirect the funds to capital works such as fixing the crack in the pool and repairing the roof and whatnot, without putting taxes up. Are we going to be doing a review of our allocation of funds now that Recreate is off the table?
Well, I think that item will be coming up in the closed session directly. So if we could hold that thought, because that will be at the will of the commission.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Do you want me to speak to the report?
Certainly.
Just briefly, the gardens was the most impacted out of all of our functions, so and they're going to be very likely the last to recover. The gardens normally has a summer shutdown, but this year we had to advance all that, and right now there's a skeleton crew running the gardens operations now. As you know, the gardens is subsidized by taxation, so the extended shutdown is actually going to have the effect of increasing the surplus given the significant staff layoffs. We don't quite know what the recovery is going to look like yet. However, staff, they're going to continue to monitor the costs and report back to the commission as we get a clear picture of what the recovery is going to look like. Yeah, we will be seeking your direction in the upcoming budget. Just get your input on the reserve transfers and all the spending and everything going into the new year. Yeah, that's a quick summary of the report.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? So following along that, will we be getting a list of the projects that have been completed and identify any projects that we have been able to fast track during the shutdown?
Yeah, we'll have more reports coming. We had that last minute budget adjustments with the garden, so there's a lot of planning going into place for the the additional funds up there, and plus with the recreate, everything is in a bit of a question. So yeah, the gardens is a bit more harder to plan for the capital because everything's so interdependent, and especially depends on any progress with recreate.
Understood. Commission, anything further? Anybody opposed on receipt? Thank you, staff. Appreciate it. That's received. Moving on to item 2, energy efficient upgrades project, award of contract phase 3 air handling unit.
Move receipt.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, good afternoon. Would you
afternoon,
like to
Wolf.
speak about the results of this report?
Thank you, Wolfgang. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to speak about the results that we obtained from the procurement process to the air handling units. Just to clarify that we're entering phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 are completed. The phase 3 includes the replacement, supply and replacement of 3 air handling units to Strathcona Gardens and 1 dehumidifier to Arena 2. The process has been completed, and a little bit about this process. So back in February 25th, we uploaded a complete tender documents that contains the designs, the timelines, and the contract that we plan to use. April 7th, we closed the tender, and we received 2 bids from 2, I would say, 1 local mechanical contractor and another one from the Comox Valley. 4 general contractors at the beginning show interest, and we can see that only 2 bid for this. So we continue seeing this trend where it's been difficult to find contractors to do work. I don't think it's related to the region we're located at. I think it's just the construction industry is really busy everywhere, including the 2 biggest cities in the island, which is Victoria and Nanaimo, and they have record applications with building permits, and so I guess that's the result of what we're having. Therefore, we're looking at significant markup, and that's what the results that we obtained from these 2 bids. The 2 bids are very competitive. We did a detailed analysis. 3 people, staff from Strathcona Gardens and also from our corporate office. We look into these details, and the 2 bids from each of these mechanical contractors exceeded the project budget that was given to us, the $4.6 million. And I'm going to explain a little bit more now about the process, how we apply for this. So back in 2017, we engaged consultants, mechanical consultant and sub-consultants as well, quantity surveyor, to develop a scope of work and also to develop the cost tables that we submit to the funders. In that analysis that we submit to the funders, we also include contingencies. So we put this information, we submit it, we get grants, and then when we actually get into detailed design and we procure, we're seeing costs that are exceeding the amounts that we ask for granting. And this is the case here for the Strathcona Gardens, reason why we're asking to access funds from the Strathcona Gardens capital reserves to complete or to proceed with the award of this contract. So that is one of the requests that we're asking. The second one is to award the contract to the lowest bidder and also the local contractor who provided a complete tender and also negotiated with us the best cost in order to reduce the total value of $1.7 million. That is the update that I have to phase 3. And I welcome any questions that you have with regards to the procurement process that we completed. One more thing that I would like to mention is that we will continue pursuing the funders to fund the amount that is we exceeded to move this stage forward. So that's something that I'm working on, and we will be communicating with them very shortly.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Questions? So I have, what is the time frame for this project and the contract award to be completed?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to respond to your question, the timelines for the project is to award the contract to supply and install the 100 units within the next couple of weeks. Ordering of the equipment will happen immediately because these units are coming from the States, they're coming from Texas. So we need to make sure that they start manufacturing the units. We're expecting the units to arrive in Campbell River late September, October 2020. Installations will happen from October, and all work will be completed before Christmas 2020. The award of the contract, we will have to, as I said, we were hoping that we will present a report to the board within the next couple of weeks, and immediately after, if we obtain approval, we will award the contract to the preferred contractor, which is Nelson Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Thank you, Wolfgang. And as assuming or hoping that we are back to normal and running programs, is this work done on the periphery that will not interrupt our regular fall programs?
Yes, that's correct. We're planning for that. We're planning
Excellent.
to reduce operations issues and yeah, so it's all been planned and phased really well in a way that even if we have to work during the nighttime, we will do it, so we won't affect operations for the facility.
Excellent. So on receipt, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. I'll entertain a motion to move B. That's the recommendation.
I'll move that the commission recommend that up to $250,000 of capital reserves be accessed to support the cost of phase 3 of the energy efficiency upgrade EEU project to replace all 4 air handling units at the Strathcona Gardens.
Second.
Discussion?
Somebody's saying they want to speak to the timeline.
Ms. Garak, would you like to speak? Did I miss you there? I'm sorry.
If I can, sorry, interject, Mr. Chair. Brenda, I think you're still in the other meeting and you're chatting in the previous board meeting. That's so I keep getting notifications. So you know what you can quickly do, it'll take 2 seconds, is close that meeting and rejoin the Gardens meeting.
Okay.
So,
Brent, did you have anything?
yes, I just wanted to speak on that timeline. One of the components of the energy recovery project is the dehumidifier that runs Arena 2. And that piece of equipment is critical in the operation of starting up the refrigeration, the ice plant for Arena 2. So knowing that there may be some delays in that piece of equipment, we're hoping that that delay doesn't impact fall programming and that we will have it operational by the time we're given an okay if it's fall programming. But at this time, I'm still unsure of the 2 sheets of ice. Our first strategy is will be explained in the next report, but I just wanted to make sure that people understood the one component of the EEU project that does support the operation of the Arena 2 ice is the dehumidifier.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So on, and my apologies for missing you. I'll try to keep track of the multiple screens I have in front of me. So on B, hearing nothing further on the award, or on B, can we have, is there anybody opposed to approval? Seeing none, we'll move to C, that the commission recommend CCDC.
Mercy.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion on C. This is for the chair and corporate officer to be authorized to execute the contract on behalf of the RD. Anybody, Brenda is still on the other meeting.
No, I'm full of
you're there. Oh, we got you. Good, thank you.
No, she's on the chat on the other meeting.
Oh, I see what's going on. It's the chat stuff.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay, unpin the chat stuff.
We know we got you. So while we got you, do you oppose to motion 3? 2B?
Nope.
2C?
I'm good. I'm good. Should I try logging in again?
It's okay, just.
Nope, we're good. So anybody opposed to C? And that is carried. We'll move on to item 3, reopening of Strathcona Gardens to public use. For receipt, please.
Move receipt.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I'm bringing this up, and I brought it up at other meetings today. I think we should begin a recovery plan to reflect the new normal for gatherings. There's going to have to be plans made to disinfect areas, designate certain washrooms, mark the floors for physical distancing, put up plexiglass at the points of service where people are, where we have staff selling. All kinds of things need to be planned and procured and ready for opening. It's not just, we're not just going to be flinging the doors open and people flocking in.
Yep.
It's going to be gradual, and we need a plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee, and I'm sure we're going to use that absolutely fantastic Area D shelter point hand sanitizer, but we have Ryan who's going to give us a project update.
Good afternoon. Yes, Commissioner Lee, you are exactly correct. All those things that you mentioned, we are currently in the plans of working, as well as with the assistance of the British Columbia Recreation and Parks Association. On May 6th, with Premier Horgan's address to the province, he mentioned the British Columbia Parks Recreation and Parks Association on a number of occasions. So we're very happy that our CEO has been in constant contact and working alongside with the province. On May 20th, they will be presenting a matrix that will include all of those topics and others with respect to cleaning, with respect to social distancing, with respect to cleaning, staffing, gradual entries into the programs, those sorts of things. And then we'll be waiting for a response from the health ministry and their approval. And we will have more guidelines at that time. So the expectation is that request will roll out on the 20th, and then we may be receiving that back hopefully by May 28th. But again, those timelines are loose, we're uncertain there. But that doesn't stop us from doing our due diligence right now in planning. So I see the protective barrier glass going up right now at the front desk. We have ordered signage for the facility, for on the floors, these sorts of things. And we are making plans proactively of how we can move our patrons through the facility without coming in contact, how we can repurpose the Arena 2 floor while we don't have ice because we are waiting for a dehumidifier to come in. I'm sorry if my volume is not very clear. We can try to see if that's any better. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay, Ryan. Certainly appreciate the update in the report. Commissioner Evans, you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, I appreciate the update. I'm just wondering for the fee structure, what consideration is being given to that? Are they looking at, are we looking at a new fee structure just for during COVID? What's happening in terms of how that's being considered?
Well, the fee structures will definitely depend on which programs we will be able to run, which will be given permission to run. Some of that information, I'm having a conversation with the City of Campbell River tomorrow to get an idea of what programs they would like to run. You know, specifically, have we had that conversation on fees? Not at this point in time, but that definitely will come up.
Okay. Commissioner Babchuk?
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to something that Director Lee said in regards to Strathcona Gardens Commission or the Strathcona Regional District developing these plans. And I worry that we end up reinventing the wheel here. These plans are already being developed for us by industry professionals and by the provincial government. We just have to implement them. So I wouldn't be in favor of looking at these making of these big plans when we already have all of those ready and in a lot of cases already in front of us. So
yeah, thank you, Commissioner Babchuk. And my only comment would be to through Mr. Leach to Corinne and Ryan, is to do that analysis of programs that may never be able to come back until there is a vaccine. And that's something that I would be interested in seeing for a future meeting, not right now.
And
So,
if I could jump
Lee?
in.
Yep.
I don't think there's going to be a magic policy bullet that's going to help us reopen safely. I think we have to take responsibility for our facility as far as ensuring that we do have PPEs for staff and plexiglass, ensuring that we research with WCB and the health ministry exactly what we need to do. There will be guidelines, but it's going to involve us probably procuring some sanitizers and
Yep. Commissioner Lee, completely agree with you,
and whatnot,
I
be
think
able
that's
to implement.
And I think that's exactly what staff are going to be doing. And Ms. Garak, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, through the CEO and through the chair, I just would like to comment on this. And Premier Horgan brought this up at his Restart BC plan. He mentioned the BCRPA several times during his Restart program. And as recreation professionals, we work with the British Columbia Parks and Recreation Association, who is in contact with the ministry on the guidelines to help and support recreation facilities in their startup plans. We are not just individual here, we're a collaborative unit that is working towards the same common goals to restart recreation. And we want to do that in a collaborative fashion. There is a set of guidelines that the BCRPA will be establishing for us and that we would be adhering to. And so those are what we will work from. And those are those things that we will collaboratively do. We have been in talks since April the 3rd with all of our counterparts in recreation on a recovery program for recreation and what that looks like. And in a very phased in approach that handles this as a unit. So I just want to put that out there that this is being done, that these established guidelines that the ministry will adopt from the BCRPA will be out in May. They're looking at a timeline of next week on May the 20th to delivering that. And then from there, we as employers will take those guidelines and start to put that into our facility for action planning.
Excellent. So with that, I will call the question on receipt and ask if anybody is opposed. And hearing none, staff, thank you for the work, and we'll look forward to what we may or may not be able to do, or how we do it, as Commissioner Lee has said, in the new world. So thank you. Moving on to 4, Recreate project funding, that the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
So that was, take that as moved by Commissioner Gunnerud and seconded by Commissioner Evans. So on receipt, any discussion?
I can speak to this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So as the group can see, we got some interesting correspondence back on the funding for the Recreate project. And I'll just give you a little bit of insight, and Director Commissioner Adams has some as well, is that we got a letter saying we didn't get any funding for this project. And we got a very similar letter on another non-recreation project. No details. There's been no notice of who did get any money. There's no reason about why there's any money. And in touch with talking with the funders, nobody's saying anything. So it's really difficult to understand what happened or what's going on with that money. So what we did do, though, is we've seen some correspondence to the federal government and the province that there is some stimulus money that they're looking to hand out at some point here. And so in collaboration with the chair, we have produced a letter that we're hoping to get the commission's endorsement on, sending that to Minister McKenna and the province on saying, hey, if there's some stimulus money available, you know, we are shovel ready with this project.
Thank you. We'll get to that in item B, but just wrapping up the receipt of the letter from Minister McKenna, I can confirm that Port Hardy's application for their pool and arena, they also received a letter saying they had been denied, and Mayor Osborne and Tofino for their recreation facility was denied as well. So again, we're not sure whether
Call from Ray.
oh,
Sorry, that's my son in Alberta calling. Sorry.
all right.
Ray.
So we have asked the question of whether the program has just been shelved in light of COVID-19 and they're redirecting the money. We have had no confirmation on that, but that's what the subsequent letter is. So on receipt of the letter under A, anybody opposed on receipt? Motion's carried. Moving on to B, that is, I'll entertain a motion.
Move B. Move that we write a letter to the minister, and we also request a list of projects that were approved.
We can do that.
And for how much? Yeah, we'd like a list of who did get money.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. My only comment on this is we didn't identify. I'm proposing that this also be copied to Minister Robinson, Liam Edwards, the Executive Director of Local Government Infrastructure and Finance, Brian Bedford, the Director of Local Government Infrastructure and Engineering, our local Minister Trevena, and Deborah Sargent, the CAO for the city. If there's no objection, or if anybody has any suggestions or additions, and I'll also entertain any comments if people want to add any suggestions for the letter.
I would like one
Chair,
comment.
if I may-
Yeah,
go ahead.
Commissioner Gunnerud?
Disappointment.
Absolutely. Commissioner Evans?
I just wanted to say thank you to the chair for the letter. I think it's critical that it goes off as soon as possible. And, you know, to hear that there is potential stimulus funding funds available is good news. But I'm just wondering, is it appropriate at this time to consider, would we be asking again for the full amount? I didn't see anything in this letter looking, and I don't think we should. I think we should just go forward, and I really like the format of the letter and the intent. But is it too early to start thinking about partial funding and accessing some of the funds that we have in place, or a plan, or how are we, I guess my question is, how are we proceeding now knowing what we know?
So good question. And just before I go to Mr. Reach, I'll just say that from the entire scope of the project, we already scaled it back to phase one. And that isn't inclusive of the 4.6 million project that Wolfgang is working on now. So there is a significant amount that was not included. And it has been repeated now from two provincial ministers that this is the type of shovel-ready project that they're looking for. Is it too much? Well, they can always come back and say a little less, but I have Mr. Leach.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did have a conversation with Liam Edwards, who, just by the way, if those that didn't know, Liam is no longer with the province. He has taken the job of the CAO of Bowen Island. So Brian Bedford is acting in his role. But I did, before Liam left, chat with him about this. And as usual, they're pretty tight-lipped. But he said that the amount kind of scared them off a little bit. And I said, well, first of all, it's recreation. Nobody has a small amount in recreation. Second of all, we phased this project. So when Director Evans says, you know, is there options in it? There's many options in our design and our costing. So you can carve this thing up many ways. And part of what escalated the costing in this project too, that, you know, gave them a little bit of intimidation, was their requirement to include this cost escalation. So when we did the costing for the whole phase 1 and phase 2, we were about mid $50 million, and this cost escalation added 20 some million dollars to it. You know, which I think is pretty unfair to come back and say, you know, geez, it's an expensive project when we offered the ability to award on phases, and cost escalation was a part of that. So there is a lot of flexibility for us. If anyone wants to give us money, we can chop this thing up in many ways.
Thank you. I don't see any other comments.
I would just like to pitch in that, you know, I think that we're going to have to reinvent this project because we're in a new world. The federal and provincial governments have gone billions and hundreds of billions of dollars into debt, just trying to keep the country alive. And I don't think there's any spare money for anything once this is over. We're looking at, you know, I bet a lot of communities are lucky to have a recreation facility not shut down after COVID, because it's so devastating. It's going to be so devastating to the economy. And I think we should rejig the whole project and look at what we need to do and what we can do with our own funds. Otherwise, we're a dog chasing a tail we'll never get there. They'll never have the money. We could fix up the pool, you know, put the liner in the pool that was recommended by Mr. Fast some time ago, fix the roof, and do what we can.
So, Commissioner Lee, if you are not in support of the letter, then that's your prerogative.
No, I think you can send a letter, but I just don't think that I'm very hopeful that they have any money to spare right now, because they're handing it out left, right, and center, and they're going heavily into debt. So I don't know that they have any money. That's my feeling.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Lee. What we are hearing, and Mr. Leach, you can confirm this, is that there are buckets of money that they are planning both federally and provincially. And part of that may be the bucket that we got the letter saying we didn't get any because they didn't give it to anybody. And they're just holding on to that, and they're going to use that as a stimulus fund. So I don't think it hurts to send the letter.
Doesn't hurt to ask, but I think we're a little bit delusional at this point.
But the fact remains, if we don't get funding and we don't rejig, as you are saying, our pool will be closing because we can't keep it going under the certain current condition. So on approval to send the letter, is anyone opposed? Mr. Leach, you got your orders. Moving on to item 5, Rod Brindamore Jersey donation for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's pretty clear. We'll just wait. So anybody opposed on to receipt? That is carried. Bylaw number 378, Campbell River Storm License Amendment.
Move receipt.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion on receipt? Anybody opposed? That's carried. Commission on B, that the bylaw.
Move B.
Second.
B.
Okay, that's 3 readings and adopted. And seconder was?
It was Colleen.
Thank you. Discussion? Well, I guess we'll wait and see if we do get a storm season. They're already signing players, but anybody opposed? That motion is carried. On correspondence, I just want to share with you a letter that I got on March 5th, and it's from Mike Shields from Hamilton, Ontario. And he writes, "Dear Mayor Adams, my name is Mike. I love hockey, and my hobby is collecting pucks with team logos. My goal is to collect a puck from a team in every junior and senior leagues across Canada. I chose your Campbell River Storm because they are the most successful team in Vancouver Island junior hockey. Mayor Adams, I am writing you with the hope that you might be able to help me with my request. Sir, if possible, could you please help me by sending me a storm puck with your team in Campbell River, from your team in Campbell River? I would love to have a puck from the VIJHL for my collection. Thank you for reading my letter and good luck to you, your storm, and your city of Campbell River in 2020. So I just to let you know that I reached out to League Storm Governor West Road, and he walked by my house and from social distancing tossed me the puck, and it was the puck's in the mail. So we have receipt from Commissioner Lee. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Any discussion? Great to hear that we have storm friends right across the country. That is moved, so then I will entertain a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
And
Actually, we received the CAO's report, and then we move into closed session under those sections of the community charter.
Let's do those together. So you're moving A and B, okay. Commissioner Lee, and seconder.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? That is approved, and we will move into closed session. Thank you. So, and then
move termination.
You get to go home. We get to go into another meeting. So we have termination. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. And staff, Wolfgang, Ryan, Lori, and Corinne, thank you for putting the Band-Aids on and keeping the place functioning, but more importantly, keeping the projects going as best you can. So take care, be safe, and thank you. We are adjourned.